Responding to the increasingly severe security situation surrounding Japan, the Ministry of Defense, or MOD, and the Self-Defense Forces, or SDF, has engaged in various activities within and outside Japan through 2017. Let's look back on some of our major efforts.
In January 2017, a total of 8 Chinese military aircraft, including 6 bombers, flew past the Tsushima Strait and carried out a round-trip flight between the East China Sea and the Sea of Japan. In the same month, there was a case where 2 Russian bombers carried out a long-distance flight in the area surrounding Japan. In March, a total of 13 aircraft, including 6 Chinese military aircraft, which were assumed as fighters, flew past the main island of Okinawa in Miyako Island, and then they returned. In May, there was an affair where a Chinese government vessel entered Japan's territorial waters near the Senkaku Islands. The vessel launched what appeared to be a small drone-like object, and it eventually intruded into Japan's territorial airspace. In July, a Chinese naval intelligence collection vessel entered Japan's territorial waters southwest of the Kojima Islands of Hokkaido. The vessel later left the territorial waters and sailed east through Tsugaru Strait toward the Pacific Ocean. As these cases indicate, Chinese People's Liberation Army and Russian armed forces are becoming more active in the areas surrounding Japan. In order to further enhance the airspace defense mechanism in the southwestern region, the Air Self-Defense Force, or ASDF, newly organized the Southwestern Air Defense Force on July 1st, and it is expected to play a core role in the region. The ASDF conducted training for its F-35A pilots at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona in the United States, and the first flight was made in February. In March, the first C-2 transport aircraft were deployed to the ASDF Miho Air Base located in Tottori Prefecture. Compared to C-1 transport aircraft, C-2 transport aircraft is capable of loading about 3 times more cargo, and its flight range is extended about 4 times longer. These specifications make it possible for the aircraft to transport large-sized equipment. Since the start of 2017, North Korea has not changed its stance to continue activities concerning its nuclear and missile development, and it has repeatedly launched ballistic missiles. In order to respond to any possible situation, the MOD-SDF has continued to conduct thorough information gathering and warning and surveillance activities while closely cooperating with the United States and the Republic of Korea. In February, Japan and the United States conducted a test launch of SM-3 Block 2A, which was jointly developed by both countries, and it successfully intercepted a mock ballistic missile target. The ASDF has conducted PAC-3 deployment training nationwide sequentially since June. The training was intended to enhance tactical skills necessary for ballistic missile defense, as well as to foster a sense of security and relief among the people of Japan. From April to May, forest fires occurred nationwide. In response to requests for disaster relief dispatch from the governors of Iwate, Fukushima, Nagano, and Shizuoka prefectures, the SDF conducted firefighting activities both on the ground and from the air by dispatching a total of 180 aircraft and 2,800 personnel. In May, an aerial rescue personnel of the Maritime Self-Defense Force, or MSDF, Helicopter Squadron 73 transported an emergency patient from the deck of the passenger vessel Asuka II to a search and rescue aircraft. In July, road flooding occurred due to heavy rain, and some individuals became isolated in Fukuoka and Oita prefectures. Responding to disaster relief dispatch requests from the governors of each prefecture, the SDF carried out life-saving and life assistance activities. Since March, the ASDF has repeatedly conducted joint exercises with the U.S. Air Force B-1B bombers in the airspace around the Kyushu area and the East China Sea. In March and April, the MSDF conducted a Japan-U.S. joint cruising drill in the waters around the East China Sea with the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson and other vessels. In May, when the French cruiser visited Japan as part of its ocean navigation exercise Jeanne d'Arc 17, the Ground Self-Defense Force, or GSDF, and the MSDF implemented the Japan-France-UK-US joint exercise in the waters around Japan, Guam, and Tinian. In June, the MSDF, together with the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson, USS Ronald Reagan, and other several vessels, conducted various tactical exercises in the Sea of Japan. At the same time, the ASDF conducted a joint training with FA-18 fighters on the aircraft carriers in the airspace of the Sea of Japan and the eastern airspace of Okinawa. In July, the MSDF conducted Malabar 2017, Japan-US-India Trilateral Maritime Exercise in the Indian Ocean. In November, the MSDF conducted several strategic trainings with the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, USS Nimitz, and USS Theodore Roosevelt and other vessels of the U.S. Navy. The MSDF Chief of Staff visited Australia in January, and the ASDF Chief of Staff visited New Zealand and Australia in February in order to further enhance their mutual understanding and the relationship of trust with both countries. In March, the two MSDF TC-90 training aircraft were transferred to the Philippine Navy. In relation to this transfer, pilot training for the Philippine Navy personnel, as well as support in the field of maintenance of the aircraft, are being conducted. In May, the ASDF Chief of Staff visited the Philippines and attended a symposium hosted by the Philippine Air Force. There, he shared information and strengthened relationships with the chiefs of air staff participating from ASEAN member states. In the same month, the MSDF Chief of Staff attended the Republic of Singapore Navy's 50th Anniversary Maritime Review, and the MSDF helicopter destroyer Izumo and destroyer Sazanami were dispatched to Singapore. In June, President Duterte of the Republic of the Philippines became the first leader to board the MSDF's destroyer Izumo while its port call at the port of Subic Bay. He observed the medical equipment on board. In the same month, based on the Vientiane Vision, which is a guideline for Japan-ASEAN defense cooperation, Japan conducted the Japan-ASEAN Shipwrighter Cooperation Program on board the destroyer Izumo cruising off Singapore. The program invited participants from the all-member states in ASEAN and the ASEAN Secretariat, and included seminars of international maritime laws. In July, the ASDF participated in the Royal International Air Tattoo, or RIOT, which was held at the Fairford base of the Royal Air Force in the United Kingdom and had unit-to-unit exchanges with participating units. In August, the Minister of Defense Onodera attended the Japan-U.S. Secretary Consultative Committee held in Washington, D.C., the United States. In October, he participated in the 4th ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus, which was held in Clark, the Philippines. The MOD hosted a seminar on women, peace, and security in Sri Lanka and dispatched SDF medical personnel and the GSDF engineering personnel to Malaysia and Vietnam, and the MSDF vessels to Vietnam. In December, the Minister of Defense Onodera attended the Japan-UK Foreign and Defense Ministerial Meeting held in London, the United Kingdom. From January, the GSDF dispatched 10 personnel as instructors to Papua New Guinea in order to train the Papua New Guinea Defense Force military band from zero. The training aimed to make the band able to perform national anthems of the APEC member states at various ceremonies to be held during the APEC leaders meeting in the country in 2018. In order to enhance the effectiveness of the SDF's counter-piracy operations, the MSDF dispatched a commander and staff to the Combined Task Force 151, or CTF 151, headquarters from March to June. As of November 30th, the Deployment Surface Force for Counter-Piracy Enforcement, or DSPE, has escorted more than 3,820 vessels. Under the protection of the MSDF destroyers, not a single vessel has suffered from acts of piracy, and the vessels have all passed safely across the Gulf of Aden. As for the Deployment Air Force for Counter-Piracy Enforcement, or DAPE, since it began the counter-piracy operations 8 years ago, the DAPE has conducted about 1,930 times flight missions, which reached about 14,780 flight hours, about 160,400 times identification tasks, and about 13,100 times information provision to ships navigating the area and foreign vessels engaging in counter-piracy operations. The DAPE accounts for 70 to 80% of the whole warning and surveillance operations in the Gulf of Aden conducted by the international community. To support the UN project for African rapid deployment of engineering capabilities, the MOD SDF has dispatched a group of instructors to the International Peace Support Training Center in Kenya and provided training to engineers participating from African countries on the operation of heavy machinery. 80 personnel has already been dispatched as instructors and trained about 130 engineers from African militaries. This project is conducted as a capacity building assistance under the framework of triangular partnership projects, which are composed by the UN, assistance donor countries, and troop contributing countries, and is highly evaluated by the UN and African countries. January 2017 marked the 5th year since the deployment of the SDF's engineering unit to UNMISS. The unit made record achievements in the field of Japan's PKO engineering, such as about 260 kilometers of road repair and about 500,000 square meters of land development. On May 25th, the dispatched engineering unit completed its withdrawal, and finally the operation of the unit in UNMISS was terminated on May 31st. Upon the end of the operation, in response to the request from the UN, Japan transferred the equipment of the dispatched engineering unit, such as heavy machinery, vehicles, and residence-related containers to the UN at no charge, based on the International Peace Cooperation Act. By December, the MOD SDF has dispatched a total of 31 SDF personnel as instructors to PKO centers, mainly in Africa.
How did you like it? Responding to the increasingly severe security situation surrounding Japan, the MOD SDF will continue to conduct various activities for the defense of Japan and the international peace in order to secure the lives, property, and peaceful livelihood of the Japanese people.